this is the dead simplest explanation of it, and thinking through this a little bit for yourself. We haven't really denoted a recruitment process section to this. This is a two-part webinar, but I should just mention this is how are you identifying a vacancy? Is there a simple way for your managers to open a job and work with their candidates? Is the job page updated automatically? How are you going to pre-screen your candidates? How are you going to phone screen? What is the manager? What are the tools that exist around the interview and hire process? What's happened to the candidates that were interviewed, and then where does that information push? So into an HRIS or payroll system, and then finally, what's your reporting platform like to measure the stages that exist in each one of the processes here? Open Jobs Portal, so I'm just going to really quickly show you. This is one of our clients, and for those of you without an applicant tracking system or ones with, but maybe there's some unique ways. This is we use the Hire Desk system. This is an example. We've done our own custom integration to be able to share content, but this is an example of just what a portal looks like for those of you who are unfamiliar with it. And you can see it's a branded portal, obviously all the same colors as Bosley. So this is just a brief example of what your career page could look like. The next piece here, and I'm going to show you some examples here, resume parsing technology, and I'm not even going to be able to show this because with some of the technical difficulties we had at the start, the resume that I had to go upload didn't exist, but for the sake of it, I'm going to show you here what I meant by it. So this is Town Shoes Career. This is Town Shoes Career. So you mentioned, I showed you before, it was Bosley's pet food, but we've created unique pages. So this is the Town Shoes site where a candidate comes in to apply. So as you think through this process, what I'm going to show you here is the concept behind the resume parsing. So quickly, someone then applies via VC, Assistant Store Manager, apply button, and what your technology needs to be able to do is this, and I show this, but essentially is the ability to go and select a resume, and as they upload a resume, essentially what should happen is the entire field, all the key fields for that candidate get filled out. So many of the people on this call, I know some of the companies that I was able to check out, there's just pages upon pages of information you're requesting candidates to go fill out. So the resume parsing technology, which is important, which also impacts the candidate experience, is a candidate goes and chooses a file to go upload, and the technology should theoretically go and parse out all the email, phone numbers, and everything, and even education and employment history into the appropriate field so that you don't have to go and they don't have to go and spend 10 minutes on filling out their information. As I mentioned, the careers websites, these are, again, just a couple of examples to maybe spur some things on and some ideas, hopefully a bit of a benchmark to what you currently have in place. I mentioned the Fountain Tire Jobs. This is a career site that we recently built for one of our clients. And the idea here is to capture people not only in an application process, but heavily focused around talent network. So you can, this career site, and what I encourage you to think about when you think about how you're going to go build that careers website and how you're going to go drive people into it, that it's got a variety of different ways you can go and do that. So, for example, you can join the talent network, connect with us directly about us, and what I wanted to go and encourage is the idea that people can very quickly go sign up and join your talent community. And again, we're having some internet, but here it is. So connecting with us on certain pages, joining our talent network, and what we're finding is the simpler the website and the simpler you make it to basically have that state interest in your company, it's critical. So what I always say to retailers, to companies in general, is if you're going to go spend $5,000 to $10,000 or even $50,000 a month on recruitment advertising, you better be really thinking about how you're going to go capture those people. So the summary of that is essentially making sure you've got very basic ways and simple ways to capture that candidate's information upon application. And number two is making sure that you've got as many different channels possible set up to go and make the candidate or help the candidate find your site, and then ultimately go in and easily go state interest by uploading a resume or joining your talent community. So the conclusions, I'll summarize this here. I think the first step you need to look at is to identify your key objectives and goals. So what are you really trying to accomplish? And as I mentioned at the start of this presentation, there's three kind of core objectives that we typically use. Is to align recruitment with corporate strategy, is to make sure that the ROI and the spend is as high as it possibly could be, and then finally a bit of a brain drain here. I'm sorry, I completely lost my point there. So beyond the objectives and goals, I think the biggest thing is making sure at the top that you've got dead clarity on really what you're trying to accomplish. The next piece is determining who your target profile is, including the competencies needed. Start with executive buy-in first, and then go through that process to be really clear on who you're going and targeting. Then by developing a very broad sourcing and advertising program to attract a high volume of applicants. Now, I know many of you on the phone have seen the high volumes, but what I truly believe is the technology and the way things are going and the strategies moving forward is there are some needles in a haystack type recruitment activities that you need, but ultimately in the world of retail, you need to be able to identify, and the technology tools are going to be there to identify a very, very high volume of people very quickly for the profile that you look at, and then you need a scalable way to process them through. Looking at implementing recruitment technology that allows you to quickly screen through candidates to identify best fit on initial profiling exercises. So once you get clear on that profile, make sure you incorporate it right into your overall recruitment technology screening steps. Leverage search engine blogs and social networks to distribute your job content. I would highly recommend if there's a place, if it's simple to push your jobs out to a new site or post your jobs, 100% do it, because what that does is it helps your search engine rankings. The next piece here is to build a career-focused employment-branded website. I think that this is going to become even more necessary as time goes on, as the messaging needs to be really clear. And I think that consumers are consumers, and I think it's very difficult to take someone who's about to go purchase tires off you to then go and apply in store. So I think it's very important that as HR goes and works through their strategy, it's critical to think about what is your employment brand, and it needs to be linked, but it needs to also be unique. Measure. So as I mentioned, Hootsuite will help you measure some of your social media clicks. Google Analytics is probably the most important piece to put on the back end of all your activities. And again, your IT department can very quickly set that up for you if you ask them. And then I guess as a joke, wash, rinse, repeat, because what we find is it's cyclical. So as profiling will change sometimes, as corporate strategy will change, and that ultimately changes the behavioral profile and the competencies that you're looking for. The social media world is changing dramatically. So what you've got now, or what you're doing now, is likely going to have to change in 12 months because with the pace that the world's changing. So if you build a bit of a framework and you put in first and foremost some really good solid foundational pieces such as recruitment technology, clarity on who you're targeting, and clarity on what your employment brand value proposition is, the rest of this stuff becomes fun stuff because it's the ability to go test different strategies and tactics. Just finally here, we've got a second half of this webinar, so if you haven't registered for it, it is next Thursday. We're going to be talking a lot more about the candidate experience and some of the screening technology and screening ways and tools that exist to go and quickly get through a high volume of applicants. And it's just on our site at rethinkrecruiting.com/webinars. So with that being said, what I'd like to do is move this into Q&A, and I'm just going to go and if you do have questions, please, there's a Q&A section on the poll section, so you can go and just enter your question there, and we'll try to get through as many as we can here. Okay, so the first question is, so the question, I guess, essentially was, in a previous webinar, I demonstrated to the crowd that there was, or to the participants, that there was a way to go and basically use Facebook to go and search for people. What we've done is we've actually changed. So what we found was the actual searching and the direct messaging on Facebook, although it worked on occasion, it was similar to selling doors, selling knives door to door. What we've done is we've really stopped from going and using Facebook as a LinkedIn type tool where you can go and search for people and then message them directly. We use Facebook now exclusively for building networks for our clients, brands, but then also using the social media advertising. We're finding that the opt-in marketing piece is the only way to use Facebook.